Good day everyone. Good day sir. My name is Armando Siromira Jr. I live in Waterfall, Balingasab, Misamis Oriental. Today, I will report the chapter 8. The topic is gunshot reduce. Basically, gunshot reduce comes from the powder's components of bullet. Elements from cartridge case and the gun's barrel where the bullet passes. When, when these components are born, certain products of combustions are forms which includes partially bombs and or advanced particles. These particles are dispo- dispos- deposited of the target as the definite patterns depending upon the distance between the muzzles of guns, the target of the times of discharge. Guns residues. This is a mixtures of partials that origin from firings a guns and is reduced that is disposed of the hand and clothes of someone discharged firearms. Reduce can be found on both of firearms and the individual. It is principally composed of board and or one particle from the explosive primer. The propellants that is also the possibly of fragment of the bullet, cartridge case, and the firearms presence. Component of guns reduced. Number one, the primary of lead reduce. And number two, guns powders reduce. And number three, elemental component of farm for cartridge case re- reduce. Sample of primers of lead reduce is the forms by the ignitions of the chemical. In the primer with firearms is changed. Number two, the burns particles, potassiums and nitrate. Number three, elements, components of forms, cartridge case and reduce. Compositions of primers. Primer element may be esters to detect in the reduce because they do not get as hot as that of powders. Number one, the major primer elements, compositions, leads, PB, and the bariums of Ba or antimony SB. Number two, trans elements, aluminums for the symbols of El. Sulfurs is the symbol of Is, and the tens is the symbol of Is in. Calciums is a symbol of Is A, and the potassiums is the symbol of Ki. Chlorines is the symbol of Is L, or silicon the symbol of is I. Number three, inorganic compounds, mercury fulminates present in most ammunitions manufactured in the Western Europeans and used in the Middle East. Compositions of gunpowder. Number 1, contains up to 23 organic compounds of FBI study. And number 2, nitrocyclose is the virtually always present along with nitrate and nitrogens containing compounds such as diphyslimine or DPA stabilizers in the powder. Type of gunpowder. Type of gunpowders. Number 1, single base. Single base with the B6 nitrogen in the nitrocellulose. And number 2, double base nitrocellulose plus 1 to 40% nitroglycerin. Number 3, triple base nitrocellulose plus nitroglycerin and nitroguanidine. This can be differentiated use mass spectrophotometers. Compositions of cartridge, case, bullet coatings, and metal jacket. Cartridge and primer case, brace, brass, and 7.3 copper zinc. Bullet course, lead, antimony, and pure iron alloy. Bullet jacket brass, 9.1 copper zinc. Some are iron or aluminum alloy. Some contain nickel. Gunshot reduce examinations. Purpose. Gunshot reduce examinations are performed to help the investigators to determining whether a person has discharged a firearms or not, whether a firearm was discharged or not, and the possible guns range or the distance of the shooters to the victim. Both hands of the suspect as well as those of the victims. The firearms as the clothing of the victim must be examined to determine the presence of gunpowder nitrate. Type of powder used in the ammunitions of small firearms. There are the two types of powders. Use of the ammunitions of small firearms. These are: number 1, black powder. What is black powder? Black powder, this consists of a maximum of carbon, charcoal, sulfurs, and potassium nitrate. The mixtures is used as the igniters in smuggling gun from it lands. It consists of the mixtures of 15% charcoal, and 10% sulfurs and 75% of potassiums. Nitrate aluminums in added to instance the burning property. When the powders is burned, combustion reactions take place. Number 2, smokeless powder. What is smokeless powder? Smokeless powders, this is mixtures contains of the cellulose of glycerol nitrate combined with some stabilizers, nitrobis 9 or graphene, nitrate, dischromate, and oxalate. With this powder exploded, the chemical reactions take place. Premier. To explode a low explosive, flames are required in guns. The flames is applied by means of the primers. Primers produce flames on percussions. A typical primer consists of a case containing an igniting explosive such as mercury or barium nitrate, and a plus such as antimony sulfide. The components is the basic for examinations for gunshot reduce. Particularly, primers reduce from distance determinations. Detections of gunshot reduce. The following are common methods used by most clear laboratories to detect guns reduce. Number 1, paraffin test. Number 2, lead reduce detections limit up to 30 feet and always present of the opposite sides of the penetrated target. Reported from intermediate glass target, present Missler's and Armstrong's 1978. Number 3, gunpowders reduce examinations detections limit highly variables up to 20 cm up to 21 inches of common. The last two methods are classical color development of modern method, such as neutron activations analysis (NEA), automatic absorptions spectrophotometry (ESEs), scanning electron microscopy with energy, dispersive analysis SIMS and EDA, and inductively confined plasma with mass spectrophotometry ICP MS are used. History of paraffin test and thermal nitrate or the definity limit test. Paraffin test was organized from Cuba with Dr. Gonzalo. Itorius first used paraffin for collecting gunpowder reduced from discharged firearms in 1933. Teodoro Gonzalez of Criminal Investigation Laboratory in Mexico City introduced the test of United States. In this test, the hands were contacted with the layers of methods paraffins. After cooling, the case were removed and treated with dispensed limit 50% DPA and 60% sulfuric. Method of examinations. Paraffin test. What is paraffin test? Paraffin test to determine whether a person has the discharge of firearms. The paraffin definilamine test is used. The base of this test is the presence of nitrate. In the gunpowder reduced, when a warms methods paraffin wax in the appliance on the hands of the illegant shooters. It is cause the pores of the skins to open and excuse the particles of the gunpowder reduce. These particles of gunpowder reduce are being extracted by the paraffin cuts with the use of the melted paraffin wax and the which apparate and blue speak with definite limine regions. DPE for the brevity is the adage of the case. It must be noted that the speak are generally located on the areas of the troop and foreigners. Notes. The blue colors, the average indicates in the reactions in the nitrate with definite limit regret truth nitrate from other source like fertilizers. Will give the same reactions other substance similar to nitrate known as oxidizers will also read with the reactions with the same way. However, it must also be noted that the blue speakers have the characteristic of tailing. What is the principle behind the paraffin test? The principle behind of the paraffin test will the bonds and the partly bonds particle. Gunpowder reduce is used the dispostage of the target in the barrels of the gun. Sums of these forms and the partly bond particle what is kept around the breech of the guns and in some way be evidence of the explosives of the hands of the persons descending the firearms. So the presence of the reduced can be detected way of paraffin examinations. As a rule in the paraffin examinations, the forensics chemical officers should personally conduct the paraffin casting of the alleged shooters. However, a component laboratory technicians under the supervision of examiners case may also perform the paraffin casting, but is the forensic chemical officers who should examine the paraffin case taken from both hands of the alleged shooters to determine the presence of gunpowder nitrate. Paraffin casting of the alleged shooters should only be done within 72 hours from the times of the alleged shootings incident. No person should be subjected to the paraffin casting after the lapse of the specified period. Emblems, cadavers, or allegedly discharged firearms should not longer be subjected to paraffin examinations because of the responsibility of extracting the gunpowder nitrate from the former's hands. taking of paraffin tests ay paraffin cuts. Materials and apparatus. This is the materials and apparatus. Paraffin wax, MP and 38.0 Celsius. Absorbent cotton, bond paper, banners, beakers or casserole or tong. Procedures. Heat the paraffin wax in the containing until it's melt. Allow cooling for a few minutes so that the will not burn the skin. Let the subject wash his hand with water without using any soap or detergent. With the hands of the subject with dense absorbent cotton. Let the subject place his hands on the clean sheets of bond paper with the palm passing downward and the fingers close together using a sponge or tongue with cotton. For the melted paraffin wax of the hands of the subject for the throat and index. Fingers and the dorsal portions of the little finger size of the hands. Cover the hands and the finger thoroughly with paraffin wax and the place and the 3 layers of the absorbent cotton to reinforce the wax. For other layers of the wax until the absorbent cotton has totally absorbed the wax. Allow the wax to cool the solidity before plating tint off. When cold direct the subject of move his fingers first and slowly moving his hands out from the cuts. Place on the bond paper the case number, name of the subject, times and date, technician who took the case witness and label the right and left hands. Place another bond papers on top of the paraffin cuts and stable together. Place the paraffin cuts inside the envelope or a box of the proper preparations. Notes. It must be noted that upon casting the method, paraffin wax penetrate these minutes surface of the skins through the burnt and partially burnt gunpowder treated with the invent of the hands of the shooters at the extent upon applications of limine, DPE and regions of the paraffin cast, the appearance of tealing. The blue speck indicates the presence of gunpowder's nitrate. Paraffin wax. What is paraffin wax? Paraffin wax is the white translation or the least solid and castings of the mixtures of solid hydrocarbons of high molecular weight. It is soluble in waters and acids and soluble benzines, iron, ligrayons, worms, alcohol, chloroforms, turpentine, carbon, disulfide, and olive oil. Combustible in ignition temperatures and 473 and 245 degrees Celsius. The middle paraffin wax penetrate the minutes crevines of the skin upon applications to absorbing if there are particles present. when the gas the fluid, the burns and partially burned particles are extracted, the person feelings again we like have the particle located above the tube and the foreigners sisters are the supers exposures to the gun. What should be noted in the interpretation result? Time of reactions. Numbers and the characteristic of blue and minutes peak. The locations and the characteristic of blue peak. And the distributions and locations. Different names of this. Lunch stage. Dicylamine stage. Dermal nitrate stage. Gonzales stage. Names after the ones of improved this stage. Questions is are any means of removing these nitrates from the hands? How long will they stay in the probe? The answers: non-ordinary washings will not remove the nitrates from the pores of the skin. Usually, gunpowder nitrate that can blinded on the skin stay for 72 hours. 72 hours. That is why paraffin casting should be conducted within the special period. Substance giving flows positive result. Fertilizers, explosive, tobacco, urine, certain cosmetic and food samples. And number 7, cigarette. Question: will this substance not give positive results from paraffin test? The answer is if the hands of the subject persons are combined with nitrate other that forms gunpowder, one will expect to find smuggles or just a smell of blue colors or a agglomerations of blue speak. But nitrate from gunpowders appear a blue speaking with stealing because the particle were secluded into the hands with spores. Is paraffin test results at the conclusive evidence? Why? The answer is no. No is just a corroborative evidence which intends to support the testimony of the eyewitness. This is the distance with the persons who actually discharged a firearms. The firearms would still give a negative result of the paraffin test because of several factors. What are these factors? What are these factors? Number 1, type of calibers of animations. Number 2, use of gloves. Number 3, lights of the barrel. Number 4, age of the gun's efficiency of mechanisms. Number 5, directions of firing. Number 6, which directions and velocity. Number 7, humidity percentage measures in the air. Number 8, when 72 hours hands are spends 3 days. Type of calibers of ammunitions. The types of caliber of ammunitions: a hand discharging. A revolver is more likely to give a positive result for gunpowders. Nitrates confirms to that of a hand discharging a pistol. In an automatic pistol, the chambers is the integral part of the barrel. Withers is the revolver. The chambers are located in the cylinders and the separated from the barrel. With the airspace, choose ligands of powders is the rebuals is the likely to occur. Pole position results. Number 1. Contaminations of transfers of the gunshot residues GSR to the body of the mishandings or with the body is heavily consumed by the GSRs from previous shooting. Number 2. Watching of hands where simple are collected. Type of ammunition such as rifle and stocks gun. Lights of barrel. A weapons of 2 inches barrel will deposit reduce over largest areas that a weapons of 5 inches barrel. 5 inches barrel, even they are discharged from the same distance with the same types of ammunitions. In the longer barrel that sends the fathers away from the moguls and the guns is take a bullet of travel. It more time those using up burning up more. If not all of the nitrate in a short barrel, the bullet travel through the barrel in large line, leaving behind the greatest amongst of unbarreled particle. Each of the gun's efficiency of mechanism. Complete combustions of the conversions of all into its end product. CO and NO or EH is more likely to occur in a new weapons compared to an old one. Besides, leakage of gunpowder is more likely to happen in the old weapon, with the breech mechanisms is no longer tripartite. Directions of firing. What is direction of firing? Directions of firings, more powers reduced will the obstance with the gun is discharged pointing upward and downward. Guns powder residues have weights and will naturally fall down because of gravity. Wheel directions and velocity. In high velocity, strong wide, the powers reduced will the belows in the down directions of the which one is more likely to positive force. For gunpowder nitrate, if there is no wides of the within directions toward the shooter. The humidity percentage moistures in air. Humidity lessens the extent of combinations leading more gunpowder nitrate. False positive reactions. Smears of blue colors or conglomerations of blue speck on both the dorsals and palms aspect of the hands. Failures. To find trust to find trace of nitrate on the hands of the persons does not prove that he did not fire, fire a gun but is submitted that the paraffin test has some value due to the psychological aspect of the persons whose hands were found positive. Also, the finding of actual truth trans of the gunpowder nitrate of the hands of the persons do not conclusively determine or establish that the decrease against. It is possible that the GPR's particle may have been blown on the hands directly found the barrel of the guns being discharged by another person. Gunpowder reduced test of firearms. The this diphenylamine reagents is also applied to cotton swabbing of the barrels and the chambers of the gun to determine if the firearms, which discharged a deep blue colors, resulting forms the reactions of nitrate, with the regret indicates presence of gunpowder residue. Established forensics rules. The forensics chemistry on caseous conduct, the gunpowder reduce examinations GPRs without daily. After the examinations of done, then the firearm should be refused to representative of the requesting unit if the requesting slowly. The gunpowder produce GPRs, examinations or substance to the finds of holistic examinations inquired. Gunshot range. GSRs, determinations also known as the gunshot distance determinations. When a firearm is discharged, gunpowder residue may also deposited on the clothing of the victims. The size and the density of the patterns of gunpowder residue found on the clothing are the main factors considered in the determining the appropriate distance of the shooters to the victims. As the distance of victim increase of the size of the patterns expand will density decrease and vice versa. Distance determinations. The method of determining the distance between the firearms and the target. This is the usually based on the distance of the powder's patterns or the speeds of the shoot's pattern. Important of distance determinations. Number 1. In connections to self-defense plates. And number 2. In the distinction between murders and suicides is thus possible to state with certainty the distance of gun from the target by means of the patterns and the reduced lift of the target, not only the type of gun, but also conditions and the type of emulations that will affect these patterns. In ascertaining the gunshot range, GSRs, the examiner should not observe the following: entrance and exit hole, powder reduce patterns, burning signings, smuggling, tastonings, blacks, and crustally frisbee patterns. Each of the gun's efficiencies of mechanisms. Complete combinations or the conversions of all in street into its end products is more likely to occur is a new weapons compared to act old one. Besides leakage of gunpowder is more likely to happen is the old weapon where the breech mechanisms is longer tightly painted. Directions of firing. More more pow, more powders reduced will be obtained with the guns is pushed upward that downward. Gunpowder reduced have the width and the will naturally fall down because of gravity. With directions and velocity is a velocity strong while the powder reduced will the blooms in the directions and the wide. And the humidity percentage matures its airs at humidity less the extent of combustion sliding more gunpowder retreat. And the powder toning products I produce black cosily repeaters individual speak of tuning around the whole are visible by the next eyes. The area of blanketing around the perforations will be found of the dimness in size at the muzzle. The muzzles of guns shoot farther away the target. Take note that are take note that the size of the areas of powders that zoning which also defines of the following: caliber, powder charge, distance of firing. Individual speak of zoning around the hole are the visible to the naked eyes. The area of blanketing around the perforations with the founds to the diminish. It size also the muzzles of the gun, its heads, feathers, and at also distance of 8 inches blackening around the hole will completely disappear. A few individual speaks of the tuning with the visible to the naked eyes. Wound inflicting a distance of more than 36 inches. Powder to tunings is sold on present. Nitrate found will not be sufficient for GSR. Bullet comparisons. A type of examination using microscope is commonly used in the comparisons of an entry shoots containing characteristic marks from globes of the guns, barrels, and the firing pin of specific firearms used. Other methods of examinations. To determine whether the victim was holding a firearms, and method used by the freeing is spraying the hands of the victims with poison spirit to determine the presence of iron threats. In late 1986, an hydroguanoline treated with a fluorescence photography can also be used. Stevens and Misler's 1974. A suicide victim's hands stains with orange brown colors upon contact with gun's barrel following death, presumably from precipitations with prolonged post mortem interval of impact. Latent virgin spirit can be detected in the cartridge and the expended since casings. It's latent because the substance from perspirations mixed with oils from sebaceous glands are the transferred with a substance on the skin ridge to an object. Index of the temperatures and low humidity displays presence of fingerprint, brass, retrained fingerprint that nickel printed materials, given 1976. Firearms examinations. Method used to determine the friable times and firearms that been discharged. Locus test. Locus test as a characteristic smell the distress in the density with lapse of time presents immediately after firing, but even after several weeks some slight small remain. And odors hydrogen sulfide. This another product resulting from combustions of gunpowder with its presence in the precious states. Thus compounds can be detected by means of cartridge powder test. If the bits of the guns is kept close, this percentage between 23 2 to 3 hours. Sulfide. The diuretic parts separates in about 45 hours, but frequently attracts refrain from a longer times, that the longest period being 10 hours.